Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the high-grade Strike Rouge Gundam. So we're going to be jumping back to 2014 for this particular build of Buildmas. Build number 44 of 50. I can't believe I've built 43 kits so far. This is kind of madness, but a whole lot of fun. Anyway, yeah, if you do want one of these guys of your own, I got mine through Buy. Link is down there in the description. Now let's get it built. Alright, so right here is the high-grade Strike Rouge. Now, I did notice on the front of this, it does say it is from back in 2014. I've had not so positive results from 2014 kits I've been taking a look at recently when it does come to high-grade kits. I do feel like somewhere around the 2014 to 2016 point is when high grades, at least for me, actually got good. Before that, I did find there was a lot of well, they weren't great out-of-box builds. Of course, the foundation was fantastic, but between the color and the overall kind of strength of the finished kit, there is a lot to be desired when it does come to the out-of-box build. I'll also mention that earlier on this year, I did do the entry-grade Strike Rouge, so if you're looking for a cheap alternative or a kind of similar kit to this, but not the exact same, you can check out that review right there. It doesn't come with an Ale Striker pack like this kit right here does. It doesn't come with this either. That's another kind of sold separately gun barrel striker. But yeah, today we're going to be taking a look at the high-grade version. And one thing that's really strange is, every time I end up building a Strike Rouge kit, it reminds me that I've wanted this Strike Rouge Master Grade, the remaster version, for what? It must be coming on 10 years now, and I still just, for whatever weird reason, haven't gotten around to getting one. When it comes to the manual in here, the manual is quite standard with the specs of the mobile suit and the finished kit on the front. Around back, some images of what it will be like in action. I will mention this is before the 2016 translations on kits, so there's nothing on here translated. So if you want the info, the Gundam Wiki is the way to go. But we do have some nice images showing what we should be getting in the end. 9 runners inside this kit, as well as beams and polycaps. Some of the runners are tiny. So yeah, and here we've got a handful of runners. An absolute lethal dose of stickers for the Ale Striker pack. You might want to get the option set Striker pack instead, I think. That looks a little bit like this right here. As far as I know, that was color accurate out of box. This, whoo, a little bit on the rough side. And last up then, we do have some sticker style decals, 4 in total. So when it does come to the build of the high-grade Strike Rouge right here, it's kind of a weird one. There's not really a whole lot to say. This is probably the most average high-grade build of all time. There's nothing necessarily bad to say, there's nothing necessarily good to say. It's classic, it's simple, and there aren't that many parts to each element, so it's built in next to no time. If there's only, well, 2 things I could kind of say negative about this, that of course is the big massive stickers around in the Ale Striker pack. Those aren't the greatest. They do make up for a lot of the color separation on the wings, but otherwise the color separation on that particular pack isn't too bad, and the build is pretty decent. The other thing is, and this is just more of a pet peeve more than anything else, there's a knob on a big curved part that's also on the middle of a mold line right in the front of the shin. This actually bothered me so much the first time I built this kit. I still remembered it with anger the minute I saw it on this one right here. So basically I just nipped it off. You can't, well, nip in close enough. You actually have to cut it away or something like that. I recommend sanding sponges for something like this, but I'm completely out at the moment, so I just kind of hit it off with a blade. But besides that, again, this is a standard classic polycap sandwich build. Nothing too interesting overall. Just polycaps between pieces. There's really too much detail. There's nothing really broken on it. There's nothing that needs tightening up. And there's nothing necessarily that stands out at all. There is one little bit of an odd thing here. You'll notice that it has red feet while I'm building it right now, and the reason for that is there's actually some color swapped runners in here, so you've got the exact same parts on different runners in different colors. This goes for the shield as well as the feet and the V-fin as well. This is because of the color difference between the Ale Striker, or should I say the Ale Strike Gundam in the normal colors and this sort of thing. Usually you see this in premium Bandai color swapped kits, so this right here is essentially the exact same thing as a premium Bandai color swapped kit, just in a standard box. But yeah, it's exactly the same as the standard 2014 high-grade version of the Strike, so it's the same thing, not much to say, easy to put together, simple. Also, I will mention that the polycaps in here are labeled 2022, even though this is a 2014 kit. So it does mean they've updated the mold somewhat to these polycaps, either because the old mold just kind of wore out, or because something has been changed a bit, not sure. And once it is complete, this right here is what you get. So it is a standard high grade, does everything fine, nothing stands out as particularly good or bad about it. It's just average 2014 high grade done, well I guess, extremely well. That it still holds up nicely now. But yeah, when it does come to the overview of this kit, this is definitely 100% a perfect rendition of the Strike Gundam, most definitely. It is a simple kit, but the overall silhouette, proportions and all of that stuff is exactly where it needs to be, and it kind of reminds me of a little bit of a funny story. I remember just before this particular revived version of the Strike came out, Bandai released a perfect Strike Gundam using the old high-grade Strike as the basis for it. It was an absolute piece of crap. I can remember building it, it was terrible. For them, I don't know if it was just a matter of months later, dropping a completely retooled high-grade Strike Gundam, which seemed like such a kick in the teeth to anyone who bought that perfect Strike Gundam, because now there's a better high grade out there that can do everything that can do, look nicer, and be better. So yeah, overall still a nice looking high grade kit with some classic features and a couple of model kit sins here and there. Let's zoom on in. Alright, so jumping on in for a bit of a closer look, and first off in at the head there, as you can see we've got stickers for the head camera as well as the eyes that catch the light nicely. We've got molded Vulcans on the head there, so not color separated, but they still look nice. Even a bit of panel lining will pretty much bring them out nicely, but you might want to detail them up fully. Moving on down to the torso, and the mold here is sharp, the detailing is nice, and we have that cool kind of strike frame that's running through the front as well as the back. Again, quite nice, not a whole lot to really say about it, it's done well, everything's nice. I'm assuming that thruster there needs some extra detailing and color, but again, not the hardest thing to do, and it is around back. It might be covered up by the Ale Striker when attached. Moving on now over to the shoulders, we've got those little mount sections for using with the various different striker packs sold separately. Again, quite simple, but effective. And the actual grey segments of those run right underneath the shoulder armor, which gives them a little bit more of a premium feel than your usual kind of hollow, armored colored shoulders you'd see on most high grades, so not bad. The molding in the arm is nice again. Some panel lining will definitely bring out some of the raised detail on here. Again, we've got some sections, hard points popping out the back here for using with various striker packs and the included equipment. And the overall feel for the kit here is that the rear skirtings or the rear sections tend to be a little bit on the plain side. Definitely going to have to detail up back there, but the front not looking too bad with some color separation in the red and the grey parts. Now I will mention that nothing underneath any of the skirtings is in grey, it's just in the armored color, which does look a little bit on the less premium side, but an easy thing to detail up yourself. Lastly then, the detailing on the legs is quite nice, especially the kind of grey framing in underneath. We almost have a little bit of a kind of inner frame to the lower leg, which allows all of this kind of detailed grey sections from coming through from underneath. We've got a little bit of a vernier around the back as well. Make sure to use the pink feet, not the red feet, because there are two sets of feet on the runners. And overall, the high grade Strike is a pretty decent looking kit out of box, but how does it compare to the entry grade right here? I don't normally stand it looking like this. This came right off an action base. Let me sort that out. So just in case you're tossing up between these two 1/44th scale offerings of the Strike Rouge, there they are spinning side by side. The high grade on the left, the entry grade on the right. Now these are very similar when it does come to the overall aesthetics. The only real difference between the two I find is up on the head and around in the back of the knees, funnily enough. But otherwise they're quite similar looking. But I will mention my entry grade is getting a little bit loose and saggy right now, which, you know, can happen with entry grades plastic on plastic joints, but they are easy to tighten up. Like I mentioned, the biggest difference between the two is the heads. The venting on the front and the back of the entry grade has nicer color separated detail, and we do have fully color separated eyes once again on the entry grade. So in essence, really, the entry grade does win out when it does come to the physical detailing and color separation up on the head. Lastly then, when it comes to the visuals, jumping into the size comparison, and there it is beside two standard Gundams, so as you can see it is 100% standard sized. Next up, we're going to be talking about the accessories in here, and here is the high-grade Strike Rouge with absolutely everything it comes with. So that's the usual loadout of sword, board, and beam rifle, which is beam sabers, the shield, as well as the beam rifle. On top of that, we've got a pair of armor Schneiders, as well as the Ale Striker pack. And even though I was saying about those stickers earlier on, they don't really look too bad from a distance. I wouldn't even notice that right there, that those are stickers. Hard enough to apply, but at the end of the day, not the worst. We only have the two pair of hands in here, which is a little bit sad, but if you do equip it with the weapons included, you won't even notice that you don't have anything besides them. Alright, first off, we're going to get it up on a stand. I'm using the Simple Stand by Good Smile Company, so it's 3 of these for 1,200 yen, which actually is way cheaper than I normally say they are, so they're a great steal. but I assume they'll end up at $12 or euro with shipping and all of that sort of jazz. But again, one of the greatest little stands around for high grade kits. When it comes to the beam sabers, we've got standard beam sabers in here. I don't know what's going on lately, but every beam saber I pull out seems to be a little bit bent. It might be a little bit hard to make out in the video, but these are in a pink, not a white. Maybe if I throw in a actual Gundam, you can kind of see the difference between. Not that the Strike Rouge isn't an actual Gundam. These can be held in the hands, but I won't be doing that today. You just pop out the beams for storage. And these can be stored in the Ale Striker pack, up in these little sections right here. So that is the storage. And there it is over on this side. As for the Ale Striker pack itself, I will mention these stickers are quite difficult to apply because they do go over an edge. As for moving parts, we've got these sections down here on ball joints. The wings can move up and down, and overall quite simple and to the point. The Strike Rouge here has the normal single peg high grade backpack adapter. Now this is for all striker packs, but will not be compatible with the vast majority of non-striker pack backpacks. Like for example the Freedom or something like that, its wings is the usual 2-point adapter, so you can't pop them on here without an adapter. Next up in here we've got the beam rifle. This is very nicely molded. It is simple, it's just made out of 5 parts actually. That is the handle, barrel and the sight, and it does look, well, again, simple, but the molding's nice. Popping it into the hands is the usual kind of sandwich style. Holds on in a little something like that. Then it closes up like that. And then when you throw the back onto it, it just attaches into the hand and looks just like that again. A simple high-grade kit, but it is very effective in the end. Looking great. Next up then in here is the shield. So this is color swapped from the standard Strike. So that is red, black, plus the light pink. And around back we've got the attachment point. There is some nice molded detail around the bottom of this, but it'd be good to give it a bit of a grey spray so it's color accurate. And we've got one of these adapter sections right here, so you're going to pop the shield right here onto the back peg here for putting on the rear of the arm, on the side one for having it on the side of the arm. I'm going to be going with the side layout, and that right there is what it looks like, popped on. Also in here we do have the pair of armor Schneiders. The blades there are meant to be in a lighter grey than the actual handles themselves. These don't fold up, they're just simple, and they cannot be stored on the mobile suit when not in use. Finally then we do have some decals in here, which is a very cute white lion with a pink thing on it, as well as some 210 logos. Alright, so next up jumping on into the articulation, and when it comes to the overall stability of this kit, it's quite good. It is a full-on polycap build, but they're nice and tight. But then again, things are subject to change over time. But out of box, this is rock solid. Yeah, and yeah, you know, nothing else to say. It's good. Anyway, into the usual pose. As for getting into the usual pose, this smoothly moves. Everything is quite nice on this. The only thing that is quite limited is the shoulders, but otherwise everything flowed into the pose I wanted. I got a lot more out of the ankles than I ever expected I would, and even though there is no toe bend here, the lunge is good regardless. So yeah, this is the pose you get in the end. Again, the only thing that is limited is the shoulder, because we do have a shoulder joint that's locked right into the shoulder, so the arm itself cannot get up past the shoulder. You can't move that out of the way. Usually it's better when the arm goes into the body and the shoulder's mounted onto the arm instead of directly into the shoulder. The other thing is the ab crunch doesn't have much. It's just that usual double polycap ball scenario in here, which doesn't really get you too much. You can kind of try and pull them out from the body a little bit to get more of a bend, but overall kind of paralyzed. But yeah, still great though. So anyway, that right there is what the high-grade Strike Rouge looks like out of the box with its equipment attached on. And all I can say is, even though this was a bit of a, well, basic build that had no good or bad points to it, it's right to the point and the kit you get in the end is perfect. So this essentially is a perfect revive kit through and through, and I do feel it's the same for the high-grade Ale Strike in the standard colors too. You are missing some colors around back, some color separation in the Vulcans and all of that sort of stuff, but just here, with its equipment, it just looks absolutely beautiful. In the end, it just works out so well. So anyway, that right there is it for the review of the high-grade Strike Rouge, and this is pretty much right down the middle, a bog standard average kit. A very good revive kit of its time, and there's no real critical issues with the kit whatsoever. There might be some missing colors here and there might be some basic aspects to it, and there might be some stickers involved in the build. But besides that, the actual overall look is quite good. The visuals are nice, the articulation here is pretty good, and you'll get most poses you want out of it, a bit limited at the abs and the shoulders, but not too bad. Accessories wise, you get the full loadout in here. There are some stickers and mild color inaccuracies here and there, but nothing too bad. And when it does come to actually putting this together with the build, it builds up simply and extremely quickly, and the finished kit is very nice. Out of box, it is nice and solid. I'm not sure how that will be over time, but I think my standard Ailstrike Gundam aged pretty well. And it's not made out of the sort of brittle plastic you will find in an entry grade, which can break very easily. So if you are tossing up between this and the entry grade is a great cheap alternative with an absolutely fantastic mold in the head, but the plastic can be a little bit on the brittle side. If you're looking for a high-grade strike, this is definitely a good choice, 100%. Anyway, that was build number 43 of Buildmas. Make sure to come back again tomorrow for another one. If you want one of these, you can get yours where I got mine, that is through Buy. And as always, I will see you next time. Once again, as usual, I cannot finish this video right here without special thanks to those people over on the channel memberships as well as over on Patreon, including Dismas, Caleb Engelhart, Joe, RG59061, Scotty Thomas, Simon, and Van Fawn.